now I'd like to introduce our first speaker, who will actually be you. For everyone else, I'll go ahead and give you an introduction. I'm sure you know who you are already. So our first speaker is Dr. Kamran, who's just finished with the introductions. He is CEO at PIQC Institute of Quality in Pakistan, an experienced researcher and professor, international trainer, and consultant. He's also an author and advisor to the national institutions in the field of quality engineering and management. He's a member of the International Academy for Quality, IAQ, where he chairs the Quality in Education think tank and is the recipient of the Ishikawa Kano Silver Medal Award by the Asian Network for Quality, ANQ. He has also been awarded the Regional Productivity Award by the Asian Productivity Organization, APO Japan, in 2021. Congratulations, Dr. Kamran. He was the founding chairman and first elected chairman and presently honorary director of the research and publications of the Middle East Quality Association, MEQA. His specialization is in quality engineering and management. And welcome, Dr. Kamran.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me go over and put up my presentation. Is it visible, Matthew?
Yes.
Okay, let me go over. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, my topic is actually improving students' quality of learning from the student's perspective. We most often talk of the quality management systems and quality aspects from the institutional point of view and teacher's point of view. However, I like to cover the student's aspect. Let me introduce you to the word metacognition. That means thinking to think or learning to learn. Metacognition is defined as recognition, understanding, and control of one's own thinking and learning process. It refers to higher order thinking, which involves active control by the students over their own cognitive process. So, of course, at the institutional level, we set goals, learning outcomes for the students. But the question is, are the students ready and they also set the same goals or not? Because most often, their goals are a little different. Learning to learn is an important topic to be taught to students, which is generally ignored by the teachers. It results in the students that they go into the race for grades and degrees only rather than actual learning. And that's create a problem, the differences between organizational goals or university goals and the students' goals themselves. Now, if we look at the students' quality change, the first institution is the home. That is 4 or 5 years initially. When the student grows up, that is the time where most of the emotional intelligence is built into the student. Later on, the student goes into the school for 12 years or so. So the first quality is coming from the family, and there is contribution of this family. The second quality, or Q2, comes from the school. The third level of quality comes from the university for 4 or 6 years of education, and also influence of quality from the society. Now, with that all thing, the students is actually builds up. There are 2 aspects to the students: value-added and non-value-added knowledge, skills, and emotional intelligence. So there are some deficiencies when it goes to the professional world. The employers points out some of the things which the universities or schools or even the family have not covered. And that is the deficiency which creates a problem or the quality gap between our institutions and the community or the employers. Now, what are those requirements? There are basically 4 aspects of these requirements. The first one, the employers and the community or society wants from the students is citizenship and character traits. That means the law obedience, graduates. Second is the knowledge and skill, the professional and societal knowledge that includes the hardcore skills and the soft skills as well. The third one is the application of the knowledge, that is the experience. They should have some experience or at least some working experience during their universities or so, preferably for the knowledge, for the skills, and even for the emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence cannot be built after the graduation. It has to be built through all the quality chain phases. The fourth one is the physical, psychological, and social fitness. And based on these requirements of different communities and different employers, the student is gauged as quality student or quality graduate or not. Looking at the changing trends of the future and what is currently going on in the world and the changes there are coming, we have seen very rapid changes in the last decade and preferably in the last 4 to 5 years. These changing trends are basically, number one, the decreasing value-added learning. Although internet is very useful thing and it has provided the wealth of knowledge and it's an ocean of knowledge. However, that is the problem by itself also, because the students, the relevant knowledge is not addressed, but the little knowledge or the non-value-added knowledge is abundant or bombarded on the students. Somehow that is an issue, and I'll be talking in detail with those aspects. The second one is the rapidly changing technologies. Now, Industry 4.0, many of you will be familiar, is basically the cyber physical systems. The systems run over internet. The Industry 3.0 earlier, which ended in 70s and 80s and still continue in many countries, is the automation, where ERP and other automation systems were designed. So in early 80s or so, cyber physical systems are in the place with the employers and in the society. That includes the IoT, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality, which is coming in our universities, also in our hospitals and many other places. Cyber security issues are on rise, drones, cloud, edge computing, networking, network security, and so forth. All these things are rapidly changing. So those who are following the old curriculum will not be applicable, because when the graduates will go to the employer or to the real world, they'll be facing many other aspects. The third aspect is the changing business trend, particularly this COVID-19 era of IT and online expansion has actually influenced every part of the society. And this includes the e-commerce, Amazon, Uber, online banking, SEOs and social media, online education and online marketing and so forth. So students have to be familiar, because in entrepreneurship, this is very much required, and in jobs, this is also very much required, other than the curriculum, what the universities have said. The fourth one is increasing demands of technical skills. Because of the application of computer, now the many skills are to be redefined. Those with the old generations are not being able to cope, because the teachers who are in the old generations are basically teaching the old generation with the old generation skills. And these new skills are required. For example, Google and Amazon and Apple and all those, many other firms are not looking too much into the degrees, but the skills. So skill aspect is there. The fifth one is decreasing social interaction and emotional intelligence. Due to too much interaction with the computer, people are becoming like robots, and they are becoming emotionless. So there is a deterioration of emotional skills and emotional intelligences, and that we have to take care in students. And sixth one is the increasing student entrepreneurship, earning during schooling. And that has so many, like Fiverr or so many things are there that students can earn. And I think they should earn with the little risk of deviating from the studies as well. The seventh one is degradation of physical and psychological fitness. And what we are calling, and there's a technical term now used, is indoor generation. Everyone is indoor rather than outdoor, looking at the mobile and looking at these things. And that has created so much psychological and degradation in physical fitness. So let me go, this changing learning environment, there are again few challenges. Distractions, like I said, internet and mobile, WhatsApp, Facebook, all these things are distractions and taking away the students from the real goals and objectives of their lives. Disruptions, there are like COVID-19, natural disaster, wars like Ukraine war and Syria war and Iraq war and terrorism, and all those things are the disruptions. Psychological disorders, due to this isolation and social stress and economic stress, there are increasing rise in the psychological problems, and psychologists and psychiatrists are on the rise of this thing because they are seeing a lot of issues. And increasing patients are coming to the psychological order. Even schools and universities are now have hired psychologists to deal with this aspect. Diminishing reading habits, no more reading of books in general. And the PDF and PowerPoint, every student is asking for PowerPoint lectures and PDF. There are hundreds of PDF books and notes in laptops, but nobody reads them and nobody can read the way they should be read. So there's this problem. And there is socio-economic stress like inflation, livelihood, and unemployment. So these are basically the changing learning environment in which we have to tackle also during our university aspects. Now, to go into the learning issue, let me also introduce to you the learning domains. We normally say the abilities of a student acquired learning is based on three domains: the knowledge domain, the skill domain, and the attitude domain or emotional intelligence. And the overall learning is equal to some people say that it's equal to knowledge multiplied by skills multiplied by attitude. So if a student have a lot of knowledge and very competent and high IQ and so forth, and maybe high skills, but the emotional intelligence is very low or zero, then the overall learning will be zero because that abilities cannot be utilized. And same goes with the skills. If skill is zero and knowledge is too much, that is not a useful student. So this technically converted into the taxonomy is mostly known, and maybe many of you are familiar with this terminology, Bloom's taxonomy. The Bloom's taxonomy is a technical framework for all these three aspects: the knowledge, skill, and the emotional intelligence. The knowledge domain is known as cognitive domain, and psychomotor domain is the skill domain, and emotions domain is affective domain. The Bloom's domain has 6 levels. The first one is the student can remember any topic, and that is recalling facts and concepts and answers. ASQ exams are also based on this thing, and most of you who are they're familiar with the ASQ certification exams know this thing, that they make their exams based on this, and many other professional exams are based on this. Their questions are based on the Bloom's taxonomy. The second level is if the student logically understand it. The third level is the student able to apply the knowledge. The knowledge of application is familiar with that. Analysis is basically research, investigation, and exploration of the topic. And the fifth one is evaluation, making informed judgments about information. And the sixth one is creativity. So the new concepts and new ideas, can the student make those things out of the topic which he has learned or she has learned in the classrooms? Now, based on that, you can see that the level 1 is the most lowest level of learning. And we have to increase in the coming age, we have to increase our cognitive levels of our universities. Let me show you some exam papers. This is, for example, one of the paper of this region. It is chemistry paper, and look at the quality of the questions. Define radical, define modern periodic law, define double triple covalent bond, explain gases, define this, define this, define this. All these or most of these questions are from level 1 of Bloom taxonomy. And these 2 questions are from level 2. That means the comprehension or understanding level, comprehension level. And if I basically say this is 90% of the questions are from level 1, and maybe 20% or 15% questions are from level 2. So this is MBBS medical students paper of gross pathology. I'm just showing you an example. This is 3rd year professional exam of MBBS, parasitology, microbiology theory paper. And look at the questions. Name the parasites, briefly describe the pathogen, enumerate organisms, define hypersensitivity, and define, enumerate, define. These are all memory-based questions. So 90% of these questions are from level 1 and 10% from level 2. So this creates a problem. Even though whatever high quality we are teaching, the exam papers is forcing the students to go for the level 1. Similarly, this is another applied psychology paper, and all questions from the university paper are 100% from level 1. And look at these questions from some of these exam the questions. They show the real world context, and they ask the students, for example, trigonometry. This is the exam trigonometry. They show the real world context, and then they make the question so that the students are able to deal the subject from the real world. And just look at these pictures, which are basically the exam questions of mathematics and trigonometry. And you can see that the questions are put from the real practical context and so forth. I'm just showing you the picture. And look at this. This one is a poor one. Without context, all the questions are theoretical questions without relating it to the real context. So are our exams on acquisition of knowledge, whatever we have learned? Then, of course, level 1 and level 2 will be okay. But are our exams based on the application of knowledge? For example, a question on ISO 9000 from the level 1 could be, what is ISO 9000? Level 2 could be, the understanding question would be, why ISO 9000 is required in organization? And level 3, which is most important for the corporate world, is how to implement ISO 9000 or TQM or balance scorecard or FMEA and so forth. So if that sort of a practice is done during the schools, then of course it's a valuable output. So if our inputs and outcomes, if the outcome is that little understanding of the student, little skills, little ability to apply the knowledge, little or no change in the behavior or emotional intelligence of the student, then of course we say that the student there is incompetent student. And incompetency creates. So for each level, we have different way of activities to teach. For example, knowledge level, you have to lecturing and reading is the knowledge level. And this is the most popular way of teachers to teach. Because even though we do the PhD in any other subject, that doesn't teach us how to, that doesn't prepare us how to teach. And that is a different subject. Comprehension, we need discussion and illustrations, question answer in the classes. In application level, we need to role plays, case studies, model construction, drills, real life observation, industrial visits are required for level 3 teaching. For level 4 analysis, we need simulation and research work given to the students. For synthesis level, self-study, learning through mistakes, and designing new concepts and so forth. So the problem comes in when we set up the goals of the students very high, like on the right side, you can see students' goals of learning outcomes are set from the Bloom's taxonomy very high. But the problem comes in when the teacher's level is very low, especially in the application level. A teacher, one of the most common subject taught in management sciences in universities throughout the world is leadership. And the most common problem of different countries is about leadership because the application level is not taught and the student is not prepared similarly in other areas. So at the left side, if that is the profile of the teacher, how can they bring the high level of cognitive or learning level, for example, of the students? And that creates a problem. So when the student gets A's and B's grades, and when they are appreciated on good grades, when they are promoted to the next class, but they have actually not gained the required level of knowledge and competencies, then we say that this is illusion of the student goes into a situation, mental state, which is called illusion of knowledge and competence. Then they go and they say, normally their complaints is I've given interviews to 20 companies and nobody hires me, because of this or that or that. That is because they are not fully ready for the level required by the organization. So highly qualified student does not necessarily mean high quality students. Because of Bloom's level 1 or 2 we are teaching and the corporate sector is demanding level 3, 4 or 5, then there is a big gap between them. So the competitive edge of nations with educational goals, the country can be 100% literate, but they may be at level 1 or 2. Then they won't go into a higher cognitive level of different progressing. They won't progress. The second level, very briefly, I'll touch upon is affective domain, which is emotional attachment to the subject. If the student can listen, then it is level 1, receiving. If it responds to the inquiries, create inquiries, that is responding. The third level is valuing, when they give some importance to the subject. Then organizing, accept different viewpoints, and characterizing, when they internalize the beliefs in the value. The problem in online education is because of the detachment of physical emotion of the teacher and students, we have serious problem in affective domain. We cannot engage student effectively. And then online education is considerably affected in the emotional domain or affective domain due to lesser engagement of students. Let me give you one example. This is one school who have put this they call it, this is SPS College, Swat, in the country. And there are many schools who are using this to teach morality or ethics to students. They have put this thing without anybody, on this selling shop. They have these boxes there, rubber, sharpeners, pencils, and even the money you can see on the right side. And nobody is actually looking at this. The student comes, put their money without somebody looking at it, and then take the rest of the money back and go there. And then they check at the end whether somebody is still, doing the negative things or not. So this creates the feeling of for 10 years or 12 years, if the student growth goes through this thing, this habit, they create the ethics and morality is internalized. Similarly, psychomotor domain, the practical, like in medicine or engineering or many other in mass communication and so forth. So they require, the first thing is the teacher to imitate, to show the skill, then to action under direction or guidance is manipulation. The third level is actions are almost perfect. Precision is achieved, then articulation, and then naturalization when it becomes the habit. So students' outcomes or student abilities are basically, it revolves around 5-6 aspects: subject knowledge, knowledge to apply the subject, soft skills, motivation level in the subject domain, and character. And we have to, no matter what, although there can't be a perfection, but universities and colleges and even schools must focus on all these by curriculum and extracurriculum activities to achieve and develop students to achieve their full potential. Now, in this aspect, we have another important aspects in universities to align 3 things. Students' learning outcomes to define first. This is called constructive alignment. The outcome must be linked to the teaching methods, and teaching methods should be linked with the assessment. So if you look at this, just a second. Yeah, the SLOs and evaluation of regularly developing the SLOs is the level 1. Then teaching methods requires teaching plans, evaluation, reviews, and regularly revising the teaching plan to ensure that they have achieved the student learning outcome. And the third thing is assessment task. This includes content validity and reliability, exam management, post-exam feedback system, and so forth. So if you look at this one, alignment of SLOs and teaching and assessment is very much required. If you're teaching course 1 with level 1, that means memorization level, remember level, and your assessment is level 2, and you make the SLO as level 6, then there's a big gap between this, and this is a poor quality. We can't achieve our goal. Or in course 2, you make the level 3 SLO, but teaching at level 2, and your assessment is level 1, the student will follow the assessment and the SLO will not be achieved. So the ideal is like course 4, SLO, teaching, and assessment all are aligned. All questions are according to the SLOs, and all teaching is according to the student learning outcome. So cognitive level, affective, and psychomotor, 3 qualities are required to be built in on the basis of citizenship or law obedience and ethical foundation of students, which all the corporate world and the society demand. What we have done is just to show you an example. This is a questionnaire. What we do here in our institutions is basically to give first of all, to teach students for a 3-hour lecture on metacognition. And they are told about these Bloom's taxonomy. And then after this, we give them the survey forms. Each chapter which we teach or each module which we teach, we ask the students, because they're all professional at a master level or at the higher education level or professional programs. So they rate whether it is at knowledge level, comprehension level, or application level. So each chapter is rated. And after that, we make a dashboard. You can see this dashboard here. This dashboard measures the student learning experience, student motivation level. This we created during this COVID-19, and this is for online courses. So for the student feedback of 4 or 5, we nomenclature it as excellent. And if the student gives a rating of 1 or 2 out of Likert scale of 1 to 5, we rate them as poor. So you can see there our student learning experience is at, you can see we can see also the student motivation level, sound level in online courses, slide sharing activities, and then what are the number of poor ratings and so forth. This is on Power BI, Power Business Intelligence application we are using. So online classes performance, each course is rated. How many have rated level 4 or level 3 or level 5? How many comments or complaints are there? And how many complaints are solved? And even we saw and we found out and we learned that there is the future projection also of the course rating in Power BI. And that is basically, you can see on this one. And then for each teacher, we measure from the Bloom's taxonomy levels, because we have given the survey form and we collect the data. We count the number of students giving, for example, in this statistical process control chart and basic, how many students are giving rating to application level, how many to comprehension, how many to synthesis or creativity and so forth. So we can find out how this course is going. This is another box and whisker plot. We can measure the variation also. How many percentage of students have given the rating of 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 or 3 to 4. So we can know the dispersion also. And then we finally find out.
5-minute warning.
Okay, thank you. Comparing student marks with Bloom taxonomy and motivation level. So we convert the students' marks out of 100. You can see the white bar graph. We convert the students' marks into the category of 1 to 5. We also measure the gray one is Bloom's level of 1 to 5 and motivation level of student from 1 to 5. So we can compare and find out which teacher is not teaching properly. So for example, the student is getting on the teacher A, the student has rated, the teacher has given 100 over 100 marks to the student. But when we asked about the Bloom's level, the students say, I have just understood and there were no application. Level 3 was not achieved. So we know, and motivation level 2 means is not much motivated, but the numbers are very high. So on the teacher C, for example, if you see motivation is very high and the Bloom's level is 4, that means the analysis level is achieved, but the teacher is giving less mark. That is level, marks are less. So we can find out, in addition to the usual marking, this we designed here, the system, and it is working in many universities very well, that they compare the marking system with the Bloom's taxonomy and motivation level. And just 2-3 minutes on the emotional intelligence, which is a serious issue coming up, and the emotional intelligence issue. A terminology which is used is indoor generation. Now, indoor generation is having lesser and lesser physical interaction with the society and with the teacher, thus gradually losing socialization and feelings and becoming robots. And the emotional quotient, there are so many tests. There are many schools carrying out these tests of emotional quotient. And they find out emotional intelligence, which includes the self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. I'm not going into the detail. And in addition to the hard skills, there are so many soft skills which are required to be built in students. And these soft skills include communication, teamwork, work ethics, interpersonal skills, time management, leadership, critical thinking. These are generally not taken very seriously, especially by professional colleges and universities like engineering and medicine and so forth. And they consider it of less value. But if I show you the data, the emotional intelligence is an important factor for hiring and managing employees. 71% of employers say that they value EI or emotional intelligence over IQ in their employees. 59% of employers would not hire someone with a high IQ but low EI. So 60% success rate in any job is for high EI, emotional intelligence. And that is what we don't build in the school in most of the universities and colleges. And 90% of top performers have also high EI. So it's very important that we build this aspect. So in conclusion, students and teachers need to focus and set their goals in line with the changes, the global changes coming in. Only knowledge is not valuable. Skill must be addressed. And again, emotional intelligence, along with emotional intelligence. Both hard and soft skill must be developed by students and teachers. Teachers and universities need to provide opportunities to students to align with the changing technologies, evolving market needs and trends, and encourage entrepreneurship. Students need to focus on improving their emotional intelligence and EQ. Teachers and universities will have to fulfill their responsibilities in this aspect. Building a better world means setting up foundation of students on sound knowledge, skills, EI, law obedience, and creating opportunities for better business opportunities for them. So what is the right strategy? What is the right direction? And what is the right learning method are the subjects for which we have to build in each student. For students, quality of their learning is quality of their future life. And for teacher, quality of their our teaching is quality of our next generation. So with this, I thank you very much. And if you have any inquiry, my email is there. I have a detailed session on this of more than 100 lectures on Udemy. You can check there also. That includes all the details and everything. So with this, I thank you very much.